Morning, everybody. The voice is slowly coming back. I wanted to talk about this where AOC said that the facilities that are on the border to try to handle the illegal immigration process and to try to give them a chance to come in legally and just vet who people are. And this was started by President Obama, actually maybe goes back a little further, but President Obama was doing all the same and worse that has been going on over the past few years. It's just a continuation of the Obama policy. That's one aspect of what we should be talking about here, is that the politicization of what this is all about. Meaning, here you have, there's no reason to bring this up now when we didn't bring it up 6 years ago. In fact, the only one who did bring it up, rightfully so, was Bernie Sanders. But with that being said, to bring it up now and not have it in that context of what was going on under Obama and how Obama did not want to stop it and how President Trump is trying to stop it, and the Democrat Congress are the ones who are standing in the way. It's all political theater, and it's really the Democrats who are using these people at the border for their political gain. Not, this is not President Trump's design at all. It's all by the design of the Democrats, both from when President Obama was doing it and to now, where the Democrats are preventing President Trump from putting a stop to it, so they can blame him for it. That's their modus operandi that they've been doing for years. That they, they'll do this where they. It's the same thing that they, and then they'll take credit for anything good, like how with the, they stood in the way of the Democrats stood in the way of civil rights in America. The Republicans pushed for it. The Republicans accomplished it, but because that last, most recent big, what we would call like the Makaba Patish, the last hammer blow was by LBJ, because he signed into law bills that the Republicans passed and all the Democrats, vast majority of the Democrats, opposed. And yet LBJ, who was an avowed racist, gets credit for this, and that's their game. It's all about votes. It's not about the people. That's why they're Democrats. They care about the demos. They care about the, just getting the numbers, the votes. And whereas the Republicans are the ones who really care about the people, and that's the whole idea of republicanism is that there's no king, including not the majority tyranny of democracy. That's why we have to have the tempered balance of to have a democratic republic, a really representative republic with. The really only aspect of our federal government that was supposed to be truly democratic was the House of Representatives originally. This whole thing of the direct election of Senate is a farce, and we see what kind of senators we have. People like Schumer, people like Gillibrand. These are horrible people, and there are a few good senators in the Senate. Notably, I think the best senator we have is Ted Cruz, and a few other good ones. But the vast majority of the Senate is pointless and embarrassing. issue, though, that I took 5 minutes to get to was this about Alicia Ocasio-Cortez comparing these detention facilities to concentration camps. Not only comparing them to concentration camps, but saying they are concentration camps, and then some people in the media taking it further and then she said, to answer the shrieking Republicans. I can't shriek very well with my laryngitis, but with, that there's a difference between concentration camps and death camps. And she was very upset at Cheney for using the word extermination, even though they are, to call extermination camps and so forth. I went to Wikipedia. I don't know how recently this was changed, but I'd never heard of this before. This almost sounds like one of those, what do they call it? The Mandela effect type of thing. Like, I never really heard of a distinction between concentration camps and death camps. I knew there were two different types of concentration camps. There were work camps and death camps, and that they were both concentration camps. I never heard that, specifically, the work camps are concentration camps and the death camps are death camps, and these are two different things. What I more heard was that there were two different categories within the same, major heading of the concentration camps. Again, I'm not a Holocaust scholar. I'm not someone who really likes to focus on the Holocaust. And I find it the only real subject that I feel that's important as a Jew to focus on the Holocaust. There are two aspects of it. One is to look at the pious Jews who, despite all odds, continued to serve God in that hell of the Holocaust. And the other is Rabbi Victor Miller's approach, and the Satmar Rebbe's approach of finding which sins we Jews committed to deserve this punishment from a biblical standpoint, biblical ideology, and to rectify those sins. And that's the point of the Holocaust. Not to go and rebel against God more, the way that the Zionists do and these other groups do, but rather to have this as a wake-up call to come back to God. And that's a biblical point of view. That's a Torah point of view, meaning you read Leviticus, you read Deuteronomy, you have the Tochacha, is what we call in Hebrew, in Parshas, it's in Parshas Bechukosai, in Parshas Kisavo, in Leviticus, at the end of Leviticus and end of Deuteronomy, near the end of Deuteronomy, respectively. And we have the similar warnings elsewhere in Scripture, and it's a running theme throughout Scripture, is that the Jewish people, the Israelite people, and later, when all of the Israelites were, when the 10 tribes were lost, not all the Israelites, the remaining Israelites are the Jews from the kingdom of Judea, and we seek time and time again throughout the Bible. It's a running theme in Judges and Kings especially, that sin leads to, all of these political issues that we suffer from throughout history are a direct result of sin, and not a result of not having an army. That's the thing. Like the Zionists, they'll say, look at the Bible. They had an army and they had this and that. But the armies were defeated because of sin, not because of military weakness. The story goes that Usher Wade, who was a Ger Tzedek, he's a convert to Judaism. He was a Methodist pastor, and he was stationed in Germany as a military chaplain. married the daughter of a German pastor, and him and his wife and his whole family converted to Judaism, and now they're Hasidic Jews in Jerusalem. And Rabbi Wade said that, when he was in the military, he noticed there was one Jewish soldier, I believe, wearing a yarmulke, and there had recently been a decision that a yarmulke is not part of the uniform, and that Jewish soldiers could not wear yarmulkes when they are in uniform. And this guy said, why did he wear a yarmulke? He said he was in West Point, and they study in West Point all the different military battles, and he asked why certain battles vis-a-vis the Israel, different things, and he said that the commanding officer said there's something supernatural there. We can't learn anything from that. Now, whatever the supernatural aspect is, it's now just because the general said that, I don't necessarily believe that to be true with the modern Israel. The Satmar Rebbe certainly said although it's possible there could be something supernatural from a negative sense, that God is testing us by making things seem to be miraculous. Obviously, everything, according to the Hasidic theology, as we speak of everything, is by divine providence. This is not an issue of question of divine providence, but the question of the meaning of it. And even though everything is by providence, there is the natural order of providence and the supernatural order. And in reality, it's more, this story is, there are many things that refute this story. The Johnson administration, their advisor said, a few months before the Six-Day War, said, it looks like the Arabs are going to attack Israel, and the Arab forces are quite weak, and that Israel should be able to beat them back in about a week. This is a natural manifestation, not a supernatural one, not something that would be considered a supernatural miracle. These are all by, through natural, political, and military means. And that's not the way the Jewish people are supposed to be operating. And if we were talking about the biblical model of the army, the biblical model is one of the utmost purity and holiness, to the point where it was clear it was something supernatural, that only the most pious people were allowed to be in the army, and then God worked His miracles through them. And in a dangerous situation of military issues, it's clear that there's much more danger involved, and that sin is considered a liability. And so therefore, the way that the rabbis understand it, when the Bible tells us a whole list of people who are allowed to, when the troops are called out, and then you have essentially a military chaplain, Shuach Milchama, the priest who is anointed for war, and he tells the people, if you've just gotten married, if you just built a new house, you go home. And then the last one is, and whoever is afraid should go home. And the Talmud says that what is the person afraid of? He's afraid of his own sins, and and then the Talmud mentions even like a minor sin, like talking in between two portions of the prayer liturgy. Between the Kaddish and the Baruch Hu, between Yishtabach and Birkas Kriya Shema, and that is considered sufficient of a grave sin that he's a liability to the other soldiers. Now, if that's the case, how can we say that the modern Israeli army, which is a place of total debauchery and immorality, and is designed to be such a thing, it's designed to take Jews away from Torah. I mean, even they have these religious squadrons where people have a hard time staying religious because they're designed to take people away from religious observance. That's the purpose. The purpose is not to defend Israel, to defend Jews. They don't care if Jews live or die. They really want Jews to die so they can get more attention and more, people pay, giving them what they want and so forth. But the purpose is really to take Jews away from Judaism, and they didn't care that they would have done it in Uganda. They just realized that it's not about the Holy Land. They don't care about the Holy Land. They realized that the Holy Land would be a tool for them, for the Zionists, to take Jews away from Judaism. But still, we got to get back to this question with the concentration camps. Because I'm really going off topic here, and I got other things to do. These detention centers at the border, the number one difference between, and all right, you want to say there's a difference of different types. I know Wikipedia was claiming that there are scholars who say that a concentration camp and an extermination camp are two different things. I was always under the impression that they're all concentration camps, and that some of them are work camps and some of them are death camps. Now, that's not what we have at the border. The first major difference is whichever it is, you want to say that there's a difference between a concentration camp and a death camp. Okay. Again, I would say they're both concentration camps. One's a work camp, one's a death camp. Either way. I mean, the thing is, America had internment camps. What are those? I mean, internment camps are they different than concentration camps as far as these, I think there were some camps, in the early concentration camps, that were neither, none of the early ones were death camps, although people died there. I don't know if all of them were necessarily work camps. There were different types of camps, I understand. So the internment camps that America ran, certainly those have a lot more in common. That FDR, who AOC idolizes, she apes him. She talks about a Green New Deal. She wants to have another New Deal. She wants to be. She looks up to people like Wilson and FDR, who were racist collectivists. And obviously both of them deserve a certain level of respect because they held office as the president, particularly at very important times in history, World War I and World War II. And there are certainly, and you can't totally discount that they never did anything good. Yeah, certainly they helped out things, in the world. But, as far as AOC is concerned, President Trump never did anything good, even though he's done so much good. He's done a lot more good and a lot less time. I'm thinking about this movie Gabriel Over the White House. I don't know if anybody ever saw that. It's like a propaganda piece for FDR. Very interesting movie. Anyway, very strange movie. There's much more in common with that the internment camps have with the non-death concentration camps than the detention centers at the border do. The number one difference, as Glenn Beck pointed out yesterday, is nobody asked to be put in an internment camp. Nobody ever asked to be put in a concentration camp. Of course, nobody ever asked to be sent to a death camp. So with that being said, these people are making a choice to come to America with the knowledge that they will be temporarily detained until it can be ascertained who they are. That they are in fact the parents of the children that they brought across the border, and they didn't just buy these kids as a means to get over the border, that they're not dangerous coyotes. We need to know who these people are for their own protection, for the protection of our people, and for the protection of the children that they're bringing over. So, there's absolutely no comparison. And the thing is that they're coming to these places of their own volition. Nobody asked them to come here. Nobody forced them to come here. Now that they're here, we have to know who they are. Simple as that. And that's it. I mean, I think that's number one. And then what's going on there? They're getting medical treatment. Now, have people died there? Yeah, why? Specifically because they refuse medical treatment. And I would not be surprised that was by design. Who's pushing these people across? It's George Soros. He is trying to make America look bad. He hates America, and AOC is one of his puppets, and that's what's really going on here. And that's why she's saying these things. She's getting fed all these things by George Soros. So, he's the puppet master here. And then the crazy thing is then people are going to say, "Oh, you're anti-Semitic because you're calling George Soros a puppet master." No, that's not how this works. You know, I mean, it makes more sense to me to say that people who oppose Donald Trump are Jew haters, because Donald Trump, his daughter is a pious Jewish woman. His son-in-law is a pious Jewish man. He has Orthodox Jewish grandchildren, and his other daughters-in-law and grandchildren are Jewish by birth. There's much more that, you know, we can say that hatred of Donald Trump is motivated by Jew hatred. And Jew hatred has been exacerbated by hatred of Donald Trump. All the people who have attacked Jews since the Trump administration has begun have been people who hate Donald Trump. And many of them have voiced that they hate Donald Trump because of his connections to Jews. And in their attacks on Jews, all the synagogue shooters have said they hate Donald Trump because he is too friendly to the Jews. You know, and then the people on the left, they want to say, well, they want to split between the Jewish people and Israel. And I also want to split between the Jewish people and Israel. But I do not believe that Donald Trump's support of Israel is anti-Jewish. There is plenty of anti-Jewish support of Israel, meaning people who just say, "Get out of here. We don't want you here," type of thing. Go back where you came from, type of ideology. That's not Donald Trump's ideology. You know. You know, that was. You know, and then there's also the ideology of send them to Israel so the Arabs can kill them. You know, that's a major part of the Democrat ideology. That was why. I mean, this is on record. Why Truman supported the founding of the State of Israel, because he felt that it would be a solution to the Jewish problem, quote unquote. So there's a lot going on here to discuss, but to compare in any way, even if you want to make a difference between concentration camps and death camps, which I think is ignorant, even if scholars say it, I think those scholars are being ignorant. My understanding is a death camp was a type of concentration camp. There was more than one type of concentration camp, and a death camp was a type of concentration camp. The thing is, people are saying that eventually it's going to become death camps. I mean, are they serious? I mean, and with that being said, I'm going to get into some conspiracy theory things here. I mean, a rabbi who I know told me kind of off the record that he once got a call from the Pentagon saying that there was going to be another Holocaust in America, and that there will be death camps in America, and that this man in the Pentagon, he didn't believe him. He called back the Pentagon, asked for him. It was him. And this man at the Pentagon said, "I just have to get the word out. Nobody will believe me." But, you know, he said, you know, as a Christian, as a conservative Christian, he cannot stand idly by while God's people are being attacked. And that this is the big government swamp goal. And this rabbi said that, you know, historically, there were a lot of occult practices which are very popular in the left-wing culture, that were attached to the Nazi Party, and that he found records that would indicate the Nazis were in contact with demons, and that it was a demonic, it was an act of demon worship, and that the point of the Holocaust was to sacrifice, was a human sacrifice to these demons, and that since then, this rabbi said, after the war, it's kind of similar to like Stargate type of thing, the TV show Stargate, that the Allies managed to get access to communication with these demonic beings, and that America has them, Russia has them, China has them, and Israel has them, and that there are powers that be in the like shadow government that are influenced by these demonic beings. I mean, there's the story of actually Eisenhower having a interplanetary exchange program with extraterrestrial beings, and that part of it would be that the extraterrestrials would have permission from the American government to abduct people. There's other aspects of this story that I think, when you put all the points together, I don't know if all of it's really true. I think a lot of things, are confused a little bit. But it's a fascinating idea. But I also believe that Donald Trump, being such an outsider, is the one who's fighting these things. If anything, the Democrats who started these camps, and these experts are on CNN and so forth, some of whom might actually be Erev Rav, reptilian shapeshifter people. We've spoken about this before. And there's a lot of evidence that these beings, are very influential in media and so forth. Maybe they're telling us something that they know that we don't know. It has absolutely nothing to do with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is fighting this stuff. Donald Trump is fixing this stuff. And these demonic forces, as were mentioned in the prayer, the demonic networks. When you say networks, don't just mean CNN, like a TV network, but like the greater networks that are demonic, that are fighting this president. The principalities, whatever that like the Christians say, the powers and principalities. This is who we're fighting, and they are exposing themselves because it's Obama who is in league with these groups, as well known, who started all this, and it was on the road, to these things, and although the Bush family was also involved in a lot of these things, but Donald Trump is fighting this, and so I think this is why we can hope maybe there'll be disclosure, and not the false flag disclosure that Hillary Clinton was probably going to do, that I discussed before. But if anybody's bringing concentration camps to America, it's not Donald Trump. It's the swamp people that he's fighting, that he's trying to drain the swamp, So this is very possible that's why they're telling us this now. That's why AOC was probably in league with these beings as well. I mean, Soros definitely, is a demonic character. They are telling us their secrets, which is something they always do. Quite often, through fiction, through media, sometimes we might not know if they are the people who are doing this or even aware of it, but like this is very well known throughout the internet. So, Let me know what you think. Please like, share, and subscribe, comment. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you think I'm crazy, just assume that this is satire or hyperbole. But if you think I'm right, maybe I am.